Namaste. We're going to wake up the mind. We're going to concentrate on the mind today. And it's easy to bring nature into yoga classes because so many of the postures are named after animals, plants, trees. So we'll bring some of nature into the indoors and also in our relaxation later. So to start with, we're going to be seated and do some alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana, because this is such a great way to soothe and settle the mind and to balance our energy, whether we feel agitated, whether we feel a bit low. It brings the right and the left hemispheres of the brain and the body, these sort of crisscrossing energies called nadis that flow through the body, together into balance. So we'll do some normal breathing first of all, but before I ask you to close your eyes, we use a mudra for alternate nostril breathing, and it's done with the right hand, and I won't mirror you for this, but if you just want to have a little practice, you take the index finger and forefinger, those two peace fingers, up to the place between the eyebrows, okay, the third eye. And then that leaves the ring finger on one side and the thumb on the other to be placed on the fleshy parts of the nose. And then you just take turns to press lightly on one nostril and on the other one, releasing the fingers so that we can control where the breath is going. Okay, so you know what we're aiming for in a minute, but we'll start sitting comfortably, drawing the spine up nice and tall, closing the eyes or soft focus down at the floor, relaxing the shoulders, and checking in with how we do feel at this moment in time. So what are your energy levels like at this moment? Perhaps they're a little depleted, perhaps you feel full of beans raring to go. And do you feel like you need a little lift? Perhaps you've got a little low mood, or do you feel you could do with some calming down, some soothing? Whatever we ask of our yoga practice, there's something in there that we can draw on to help that happen. And it starts with the breath. So starting now to become aware of how your breath is today. And then taking a little conscious control over it, seeing if it's okay for you to breathe in and out through the nose. And if it's not, then of course you're welcome to keep breathing through your mouth. And when we do the alternate nostril breath, imagine that you're breathing in through one nostril, out through the other. Just focus your awareness there as if you were doing it. So let's see how it goes. We'll take the Vishnu Mudra, so taking the right hand gently up in front of the face and placing the index finger and middle finger on the point between the eyebrows, resting the thumb lightly on the right side of the nose and the ring and little finger on the left side of the nose. Breathing in and out of the nostrils, getting used to the fingers and the hand being there. You can always support the elbow with your left hand if you wish to. And we're going to close off the right nostril by pressing our thumb lightly down. Inhale and exhale out through that left nostril. And then breathing in through the left nostril, maybe pausing at the top of the breath. Switch over, so we press down on the left nostril, lift off the thumb on the right nostril, and we breathe out through the right nostril. Again, there might be a little pause before you breathe in through the right nostril. Notice if there's a moment before you then close off the right nostril, open the left nostril, and breathe out through the left nostril. And keep going with this now in your own rhythm, your own time, thinking, breathe in through the same nostril, breathe out through the opposite nostril. And the movement with the fingers can be really subtle to encourage you to do this. Not rushing. Closing the eyes helps, coming inwards. Keeping an upright, dignified posture and looking for those pauses at the top of the inhale, at the end of the exhale. Couple more rounds. So there's absolutely no rush to finish, but next time you find yourself breathing out of the left nostril, call that the end of that round and release your hands down into your lap or onto your knees. Keep the eyes closed and allow yourself to breathe freely. And notice how you feel. If you already feel different after practicing this Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breath, how does your energy feel now? How does your mood feel now? And then we'll take our yoga practice into some movement. So anytime you wish to, you can change the way you're sitting. This first sequence, you might want a cushion or a block underneath the hips. We're going to work on the head and neck to start with. So inhaling nice and tall out through the crown of the head. Exhale, we're going to turn to look over our right shoulder, so nose pointing to the right. Inhale back to the front and exhale to look to your left. And keep this going nice and smoothly now. So the movement doesn't actually stop. As you look over to one side, you then start moving back to the center, inhaling, exhaling as you look over to the other side, and let the breath lead this. So this could be really slow movement. Nice and loosening up the neck, but also focusing the concentration on these small movements, how they feel. One more time each side. And when you've done an equal number, so when you're next looking over your left shoulder, as you come through to the center, inhaling, drop your chin to the chest on the exhale. And now you're feeling a stretch on the back of the neck. And the inhale, lifting the nose up slightly to the sky. So just looking up. Make these movements small and gentle to start with until your neck gets used to moving in this way. The torso is staying still at this stage. Just the head moving forward and back. And then gradually you can begin to bring in cat-cow movements. So as the chin drops down, the pelvis tilts back and the back rounds. And as the nose lifts into the air, the pelvis tilts forward, the heart lifts forward, and you're arching your back. So moving backwards and forwards, however much your back feels like it wants to move today. Let the shoulders be drawn back and forwards as well. Lovely. And then bringing that to stillness. Again, you can change the cross of your legs or extend them out in front of you. And we're going to take the fingers down towards the mat, touching the mat if you can. And on an inhale, lengthen up through the body, and just the head is going to drop over to the right-hand side to start with. So the right ear towards the right shoulder. And feel a stretch, a sensation down the left side of the neck. Don't force it. I'm going to sweep our right arm up on an inhale, bend the elbow, and on the exhale, bring the hand gently on top of the head. So it's resting sort of over the ear, gently cupping the head. We're not pushing down, but this sensation of weight on top of the head might increase the stretch a little. And then it's up to you whether you do the next bits as well. We can lift the left fingers off the ground and out to the side more. This engages the shoulder a little bit. And then we can move that stretch into different muscles by turning our palm up and taking the arm backwards. So feel how that stretch changes to different muscles down the neck, the arm, through the hands. Lovely. And keeping your head tilted to the right, we're going to inhale, that left arm comes up and we come over into a side stretch. So let the right hand find the floor. The left arm is over the top of the left ear and you're looking forward. You can bend the right elbow. You can keep the fingers tented, however far you want to come over. Breathing into the left side of the body. And then lifting both arms up as we inhale and bringing them down to the floor on the exhale. Notice any sensations, any tingling, stretched out feelings in different parts of the body, and we'll do that all on the other side. So inhale, lengthen the spine, lengthen up through the neck and the crown of the head, and exhale, drop the left ear to the left shoulder. And breathe there. And let the head and neck get used to this idea. Okay, if you've got anything going on around the neck, this might be a really small movement, and don't try and make it any greater if it's going to cause any pain, as always. Inhale, we're going to lift the left arm up, and exhale, let it come to rest on top of the head. Just as a suggestion that there might be a little more movement there in the neck. And then playing with movements in this right arm, you can lift the fingers off the floor, stretch them out to the side. Maybe turn the palm and even draw the arm backwards. See what feels nice. There's usually one of these options that feels really good on the neck, the shoulders, the arms. So explore that. And then we're going to change it into a side stretch. So inhaling the right arm up and over we go on the exhale. Let that left arm support you. So the hands can be on the floor. If you want to come into more of a side stretch, maybe the elbow bends and the forearm is going down towards the floor. Do what's right for you. Sending your breath into the right side of the lungs. Lovely. And then we'll come up again. Inhaling up. Exhaling, bring the hands down to the floor and come to kneeling. So any support can go out of the way now to the end of the class. Come to tabletop pose. And we're going to take our cat-cow stretches again here. So lengthening through the crown of the head. Inhaling. Exhale, really rounding the back. Draw the tummy up towards the spine and drop the head. On the inhale, tilt the pelvis, lift the heart, lift the gaze forward. Couple more times. Pushing into your hands, especially on that exhale. Or you can do this on your forearms if you prefer. Good. And the next time you find yourself exhaling, let's come back to child pose. Reaching the hands out in front. And let the forehead come down towards the mat. If it doesn't make contact with the mat, then maybe bring the hands underneath and rest your forehead on them. You could even stack fists on top of fists or grab a block, because I want you to bring awareness into this idea of the third eye, the point between your eyebrows. Okay, it's known as Agya Chakra, and it's an energy center. It's actually in the center of the skull, but it's behind this point that's between the eyebrows. And it's the seat of our inner wisdom, our intuition. All too often, we let the brain rule what we're doing, but if we can tap into this center of energy that holds what we know is best. We can wake up this chakra. We can learn to trust our inner voice a little more. Good. So if the hands aren't already reached out in front of you, stretch them out now. And we're going to walk the arms over to the right-hand side, first of all. So walking the hands over to the right. Try and keep your hips back towards the heels until you feel an opening along the left side of the body. And breathe there. The exhale's taking those hips backwards, planting the hands down to the floor. And you might be able to walk the hands a little more to the right after a couple of breaths. You might not, that's fine. And then come back to center, walking the hands back to the center, and then taking them around to the left-hand side. Again, use the exhales to draw the hips back. You'll feel an opening under the armpit, maybe down through the ribs. Nice, deep, slow breaths today. And then walking the hands a tiny bit more. If there is a little bit more, you can reach into your edge. And then walking the hands back to the center. And rising up to kneeling, decide whether you're going to come into half down dog, our puppy dog, where you walk the hands forward, keep the hips in the air, or the hands come a little bit in front of the shoulders. You tuck your toes and lift the hips into our downward facing dog. And wherever you are with that, have a little sway in the hips. If you're in downward facing dog, bend one knee deliberately and stretch the opposite heel towards the floor and then swap it over. If you're in kneeling, then take one leg back, tucked toes, stretch through that back heel. Couple of breaths and then swap it over. So we're stretching out the back of our legs, getting nice length in the body. Good stuff. And then everybody coming back to kneeling, back to child pose, reaching the hands forward and thinking about if you want to come forward into Sphinx or Cobra or lying on your tummy. So we're going to rise up on an inhale, come forward onto the belly on an exhale. And then your choice, you can take the hands under the forehead in crocodile pose, which is this tiny back bend, still got a bit of lift in the heart. You can have the hands under the shoulders ready for cobra pose, elbows stay tucked in towards the ribs, or you can have the forearms forward in Sphinx pose with the elbows under the shoulders. Whichever option you choose, on an inhale, I want you to lift the heart forward and up. And on the exhale, soften down. So coming down to the ground or towards the ground, working with that. And I want you to think length in the body, reaching back through the tips of your toes and keeping the neck and the head as an extension of the curve in the spine. So if you're low down, this is a tiny curve. If you're coming up a little higher, might be a little bit more of a C curve, but you don't need to look up to the sky. I don't want your head to be cranked back. Working in and out of this. Good. And then lying down, everybody lying down in our crocodile pose. Rocking the hips gently. And I want to take us into frog pose next. So we're going through these aquatic animals at the moment. We've had crocodile, we'll do frog. And this involves lying on your tummy and bringing your left knee, we'll do half frog, one leg at a time, your left knee out to the side and forward. So you're still lying on your tummy, but you're going to feel some work, some stretch around that right hip. And you choose if you want to bring the knee to 90 degrees, or some people might even go higher than that, or if you want it to be at an angle that's comfortable for you. And flex your foot. So it's like a little froggy leg as they're swimming through the water. And see if you can release and relax with the breath into this stretch. Go easy. Think about that lower back. Can you draw in the tummy muscles if you feel the lumbar spine is arching? How does this feel for you today? Last breath, maybe you lift the knee up just a little bit nearer to the elbow or head. And then stretch the legs back out again and take a pause, a breath before we do the other side to see how this feels, one side to the other. And then bending the left knee, creep it up to the side of you. And one side might feel tighter than the other. And just notice that, accept it. There's no judgment which side is looser or tighter. And it might take a couple of breaths and then you can adjust where your knee is, bringing it up a little closer to the top of your body or taking it away again if there's any strong discomfort. But see if you can breathe into sensations. As long as it's not sharp pains, it's good. If we can give a little stretch, a little challenge to our body. Flex that foot, remember. Toes lifting up towards the knee. Lovely. One big breath to finish. And then stretching the toes back. Ready to come up. So hands under the shoulders, lifting up, pushing yourself back to kneeling. And we'll take some tiger curls. So this can be done on your forearm. If you really want to challenge yourself, if you feel like it, it can be done in downward facing dog as well. I'm going to do it in kneeling today. And tiger curls are when we take one leg back behind us and bring the knee backwards and forwards. So we'll start with our right leg. So bring the knees a little closer together. So they're in the center. And then the right leg stretches out behind you. The heel pushes out behind you. The crown of the head reaches forward in front of you. Lovely long body. Foot is flexed for the inhale. And then as we exhale, we bring the knee forward and we look towards it. So the back rounds and we can point the toes. Twice more. So the foot comes out and we lengthen through the crown of the head. And then the knee comes in and we look towards it and around the spine. One more time, stretching backwards. And then this time, I want you to swing the knee forward so that the foot lands between the hands. So we come into our low lunge. And I'm going to let you decide whether you stay here down on one knee, or if you want to, you can tuck the back toes and come up into a higher runner's lunge. Okay, that's going to be more challenging on the balance because we're going to rise up. You can do exactly the same arm movements with the knee down if you prefer. Okay, so if you've got the knee lifted, I want you to spin the back heel down so that you come into like our warrior stance that we do. So that back foot is at an angle and you're really pressing down into the front foot, and you can lift up in stages, bringing the hands to the thigh or sweep it up into the air in one movement. And if the arms don't want to stay lifted up into the air, then you bring them to the heart space. So we're either in warrior one or we're down on one knee in our low lunge. Good stuff. And then bringing this third eye energy into our posture. I want you, wherever the hands are, to sweep the arms behind your back and interlace the fingers. And if it's comfortable for you to do so, draw the knuckles back. So we get this lovely squeeze between the shoulder blades. Going to inhale here. And on the exhale, bow forward. So the torso comes either to the thigh or just inside the knee. And this is humble warrior. And you can reach the knuckles back with straight arms and breathe here, or you can soften the elbows. Have bent arms if that's more accessible for you. And we're thinking about bowing down. the head towards the earth. You can do it with that dropped knee, remember. One more big breath. And then release the hands down to frame the foot. Step it back. You can stay in downward facing dog for a couple of breaths or come straight to knee length. And we'll do that on the other side. So, nice neutral spine. Left leg stretches back behind you, reaching crown of head and back heel in opposite directions. Flex that left foot, toes pointing towards the floor. Inhale. On the exhale, draw the knee forward, round the spine, look towards that knee. And back again you go. So the foot can move if you want to. You can flex the foot on the inhale. You can point the foot as the knee comes towards the nose. Lovely. Extend it out behind you one more time. And then the knee comes forward. The foot is placed between the hands. And you're either in this low lunge or a runner's lunge with the knee lifted up off the floor. You know where you're headed now. So if you want to spin that back foot down, keep the front knee bent and rise up, lifting the arms either up into the sky or bringing them to the heart, lifting up our energy. Even if the knee is on the floor and you're feeling grounded and supported there, the energy is upwards. So enjoy that feeling of opening out into the big wide outdoors. Dropping the hips a little more if you can. Keep that front knee over the front ankle. And then we're going to sweep the hands behind us, interlace the fingers, and then see if you can swap it. So it's that awkward linking of the fingers where it feels like you've got too many little fingers, I would think. And see how that feels. You can draw it back for a lovely shoulder squeeze, or you can keep it soft and gentle. Nice big inhale, and as you exhale, bow it down. You're taking a lot of the weight into that front foot, so pressing down into the front foot, keeping the energy going backwards and forwards, and letting the head come below the heart, if that's okay for you. So suddenly the heart is dominant. The brain, the busy mind can rest, be soothed. Let it submit. Good. And bringing the hands down to frame the front foot. Turn all 10 toes so that they're facing the front. And this time we're going to step forward into a forward fold at the front of your mat. Feet hip width apart, and the knees can bend. You can be soft in this. We're going to work a little bit again into stretching out our hamstrings. On an inhale, bring your fingertips to the shins and come up into a half forward fold with a flatter back. Take a nice big breath in there. And as you exhale, fold back down into your forward fold. The knees can bend, but as best you can, keep the hips lifted as the head goes down. And do that twice more. So coming up into a half forward fold, really getting length in the spine and trying to keep that length. So the back gets a stretch and so does the back of the legs. And it's a compromise, you know, which one has got to bend. I'd rather you had bent knees with a long back. Lovely. And when you've done your third bow, you can choose how you're going to rise up. So feet together or feet hip width apart, pressing down into the floor, either rolling up or lifting with a flatter back if the lower back's strong. Coming to standing and into our mountain pose. So turning the palms out, lifting the heart, feeling really grounded into the floor. Breathing here. Imagine you're on a mountaintop with a lovely breeze. You can breathe in the fresh air. And we'll go for our tree balance, as it's our nature theme. We have to do our tree pose, don't we? And you're welcome to come to a wall or a chair if you want to. It will be the left leg that we'll balance on first. So looking down, invite those feet to the toes to lift up and spread out. And the right toes come near to it to start with. So balance them near to the left foot. Choose whether you want your hands outstretched or next to, in front of the heart to start with. And find something to gaze at that's not going to be moving. And when you get your inner cue, really pressing down into that left foot, lift your right foot somewhere onto the leg. And I don't mind if the toes are a tiny bit off the floor, touching the floor, whether it's on the calf or whether you draw the foot up into the thigh, but it needs to be somewhere where the knee can be going out as best it can to the side, and the foot isn't sliding down, so it's not distracting you by moving. And I'd rather it wasn't on the knee joint, so above or below the knee. And then have a play, maybe moving the arms, exploring different gestures. Where would your branches like to reach out to today? Maybe they stretch up to the sky or out to the sides. Maybe they come into the heart or down by your sides. Keep the breath slow and even. Good. Couple more breaths if you can. It's always that point where you think, no, no more. That challenge really kicks in. And then bring the foot back down to the floor in a dignified way. Really nice. And then swap it over. So let the weight come into your right foot now and press down into that right foot. Make the feet wide, the foot wide by spreading the toes. And again, set yourself up, take your time. The left toes come to balance first. If you want to have support to the side of you, then get into the right place and decide whether it helps to have your hands starting at the heart, down by the sides. And when you're ready, lifting the foot onto the leg in the right place for you today. Okay, so over time, it might be fun to challenge yourself and bring it higher up the leg, but no point doing that if then the body is all twisted and wobbling, instead of finding that steadiness, that concentration. And if you want to lift the arms or take them into a different position, you can. So what sort of shape of tree do you want to evolve into today? Are your roots nice and deep and stable, or are they a little shallow and wobbly today? Good. One more breath as you bring that foot down. Try and make it controlled. Really nice, everybody. And breathe. So I want you to take a turn to your left now. And we're going to take a wide stride and point the toes out to the corners of the mat. So you're facing the long edge. And we're going to move through a flow of our moonflower, sunflower postures. So this is a bit like goddess pose. We bend the knees and we bend the elbows. So lifting the hands up to start with into a star shape, stretching out through the fingers, pressing down through the feet. Big inhale there. And then on the exhale, bend the knees and bend the elbows. And instead of cactus pose, bring the elbows a little closer into the ribs. Yeah. So this is called moonflower posture. And just like goddess, you can drop the hips down to 90 degrees or not. It could be a little higher up than that. So then we're going to inhale and stretch up again. Let the hands touch, the fingers touch at the top. And exhale, as you bend your knees this time, take the hands out to the side and draw a great big sunflower. So draw a circle. Let the wrists cross at the bottom and then circle all the way back up to the top. So the inhale, we're reaching the hands out, and then we do moonflower again. Exhale into moonflower, as though there's some resistance in the air and we can't quite bring the hands towards the ribs. Good. Stretch it up again and draw that circle, plieing down, seeing if you can go a little lower, but trying not to bend all the way forwards, trying to keep a little bit upright. So there's lots of work going on in the thighs. Inhale at the top. Exhale, moonflower. And reach it up, drawing a lovely big golden sunflower. Super. And finishing, stretching up to the sky. Let's bring the hands down the center line. Step the feet together to the top of your mat. And come back to mountain pose. Nice. Notice what's going on, if there's heat building in the body, if there's sensations in the arms, the legs, what's working, how is the mind reacting? Okay, is the mind staying in this balanced way? Is it racing? Is it nice and quiet and soothed? Is it how you want it to be? And let's do a half sun salute. So some little sun salutes to the hope of spring continuing its sunshine and not so much of the rain. So facing the narrow end of your mat, bring the palms together in front of the heart. We're going to inhale as we open the arms out to the side and up, palms together, and then exhale. Bring the hands down through the center, past the nose, the heart, and into a forward fold, touching the ground. Inhale, half forward bend, extending out through the spine. So the hands might touching the shins now. And then exhale into your forward fold again. Press down into the feet. This time you're going to come all the way up. You can flatten the back, or you can come up with a rounded back. Lift the hands at the top. And finish by bringing them down to the heart. Let's do that once more. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, hands down the center, folding down into your forward fold. If you want to, the fingertips can stay on the floor as you try and extend that spine nice and long. And then rediscover your bow, taking the hips up, the head down as best you can. Pressing into the feet, rooting down to rise up like the sun rising up in the morning, and bringing the hands to the heart. Lovely. Okay, we're going to work our way into pigeon pose. If you know pigeon isn't right for you, or you discover it's not right for you when we get there, there's an alternative lying on your back, but we'll start together. So let's bow down again. Inhale, lifting the arms up. Exhale, bowing down, and your eyes are stepping back to downward facing dog and staying there, or you can come to kneeling, or you can roll onto your back and lay on the floor with your legs bent. So pigeon pose, we're working the hips again. If you're in downward facing dog, you might want to lift your left foot up behind you. And then look between your hands, and we're going to swing the knee forward again so that the knee is now aiming over to the right. The right knee is aiming to the right hand. And this is our upright pigeon pose. Okay, and you can work here. If you feel like you're floating miles off the floor, you might want to get a block under that right hip. If the knees and the hips do not like this, turn yourself around and bring the right ankle to rest on your right thigh, up near the knee. And if you want to increase that stretch, you can then bring the foot off the floor, the legs towards you. So reverse pigeon or pigeon pose. If you're facing the floor, stretching back through that left leg. And then if you choose to, walking the hands forward and resting the forehead towards the floor. So whichever way you're working, we're thinking about what's going on in the hip and the mind. Can you breathe into any strong sensations, and can you soothe the mind, soothe and settle? Couple more breaths. If you're lying on the floor, you're going to unravel the legs and have both feet on the floor, knees bent, ready to do the other side. If you're in forward facing pigeon, walk the hands back up so you come more upright. Tuck your back toes under and either step it back to kneeling or all the way back into downward facing dog and walk the legs out. Ready to do the other side now. Maybe we want to lift the left leg up a little, look towards that left hand and swing the left knee so it settles just next to or behind the wrist. Might take a couple of breaths to settle down into the hips. If you're lying on your back and you've got the foot up on the opposite thigh. And then if you want to walk forward, letting gravity deepen this stretch for you. Taking the hands forward, the head comes down. For our sleeping swan, it turns our pigeon into a swan. You can really draw the left hip back, the right hip forward, because the opposite always wants to happen. Try to keep those hips level with each other. And think about that third eye area, whether you're bowing it down, maybe even touching it to the ground, or whether you're lying on your back. Closing your eyes, bring your attention to the Agnya chakra behind the eyebrows. Good. If you're lying on the ground, then I want you to stay there. If you're in forward facing pigeon, slowly walking your hands back so that we're upright. And you might want to stretch out the legs, coming back to kneeling or down dog. And then we're all going to kneel on the floor and roll onto one hip and ease yourself down to lying on your back. So the class will come together in our 2-foot support with the feet hip width apart, the knees bent. Shuffle your hips, your shoulders, and feel nice and comfortable. I'm going to take a little twist here. It's up to you, again, how deep you want to make it. First of all, cross your right leg over the top of your left leg at the thigh. Have the arms a little out to the side so there's space. And we're going to drop the knees, first of all, over to the right-hand side. Try and keep the shoulders on the floor. If that's really uncomfortable, then unravel the legs and you can be dropping the knees to the right-hand side stacked instead of crossed. And then I want you to breathe in, bring the knees up towards the sky and allow the legs to drop over to the left-hand side. Again, let the shoulders stay on the floor. See if you feel an opening in the back. Going gently with this. Maybe there's a stretch around the hips, the thighs, up through the rib cage. Everyone will feel it slightly differently. Good. And bring your knees up to the sky. Uncross the legs and do that on the other side. So choosing to cross the left leg over the right leg, if that was okay for you. And then dropping the knees over to the left to start with. And the knees don't have to come to the floor. We're looking for some work around the hips, maybe a stretch up through the ribs, around the lower back, as long as it's a nice stretch, an opening, rather than any pain or sharpness. And then lifting the knees back to the center, drop the knees in the opposite direction. And it might feel one side is tighter than the other. So again, observing how this feels. Can your mind remain calm and still? Good stuff. Drawing the knees up to the center and crossing the legs. You might want to bring the knees over the chest for a hug. And then we're going to choose our inversion. So where we take the heart up higher than the head again. You can either take the legs up as they are. So you're lying on the floor, you straighten the feet up towards the sky, straightening the legs or keeping the knees bent. Or you might want to shuffle yourself over to a wall or chair or something you can put your heels up against so that you've got your legs supported. Or if you want to, you can press yourself, I like to press up to sitting, to come into a shoulder stand, rolling back, pressing the forearms into the floor to launch your hips up and catching them with your hands. And then when you get comfortable, you can wriggle your shoulders, you can walk your elbows in. You might want to extend your legs straight, but you're not in one line, you're not up on your shoulders, you're in this V shape. So plenty of your back still on the floor, neck and head are nice and relaxed. And wherever you are, see how it is to close your eyes in this inversion and bring your attention once again to that point behind the center of the eyebrows, Agya chakra. So this is encouraging all the energy to flow there. An inversion lets gravity work on the circulatory system in a different way. So the blood is flowing more richly around the upper body. You might feel your face getting a little warmer, but also the energy is encouraged to flow that way. Nice, deep, slow breaths. You can use the Ujjayi breath if you know that. You can come out of this at any time that you choose, coming to a resting posture. Otherwise, a few more breaths in your inversion. If you're in shoulder stand, you're going to bend the knees, draw them in towards the chest. Let the hands find the floor so the arms act as brakes as you roll out of this posture. If you're at the wall, then bending the knees, rolling onto your side. And everyone coming down to a lying position. You can choose to keep the knees bent with the feet wide apart and the knees resting, or stretching the legs out. And having a think, letting your energy settle. Would you like to stay here for a guided relaxation? Or in a minute, would you prefer to come up to a seated posture? Just seeing what you think will suit you today. But take a few breaths in this restorative pose. If you've got the legs out straight, let the toes drop out to the side. If the legs are bent with the feet on the floor, let it be an effortless pose. Turn your palms up to the sky and check in with any areas that tend to hold on to tension, like the jaw, the shoulders, the hips. Invite them to soften down. And perhaps at this point, you'd like to roll onto your side and gently press yourself up to sitting, your choice. Maybe getting a cushion to sit on, or you can decide to stay in your reclined posture. And as we're indoors today, we're going to see if we can bring a visualization of nature to us. So spending time in nature is a shortcut to finding serenity and calm. And this is something we intuitively understand. And I'm sure there's been times where we've all felt this connection with everything that's around us, whether it was standing on top of a hill, a beautiful sunrise, being with animals, or on the beach, somewhere out in nature, feeling everything is just as it should be, and that feeling of peace and calm that comes with that. So I'd like you to remember a beautiful view or place you've been to, or imagine a place that you would like to go to where there is a tall, strong tree. So this could be in a forest, in the middle or on the edge of it. It could be in a field. It could be on a beach. So it could be a palm tree. It could be a fir tree on top of a mountain. It could be a great oak tree. Silver birch. You choose your tree. And picture yourself resting underneath it. Take a few deep breaths in and out. Imagining you could smell the smells around you, perhaps rich soil or grass, perhaps the saltiness of a nearby sea. The fresh air in your lungs, whether it's warm or cool. And then notice what you can hear. What is around you? Perhaps the sound of the wind in the leaves or branches of the tree. Perhaps there are animals nearby. Sounds in the surrounding area. Visualize your tree against the sky. Is it a clear blue sky? A moody, stormy sky? Are there clouds? Is there sunshine? Perhaps there's just the beginning of light speckles of rain that you can sense and smell in the air. Think of the tree and the protection that it offers you from the elements, the home it might offer to the creatures that live there. Take in the shape of the trunk, the branches, the color of the leaves. And think of your tree as a living organism with roots reaching down into the soil to drink up water. And with its leaves or needles, palms, taking in carbon dioxide, cleaning the air, releasing oxygen, and then changing this over at night time. Wonderfully complex system of the living tree. And as you rest here under your tree, tap into any feeling of contentment and peace that you're feeling. feeling of calm and stability, groundedness. Know that you can take these sensations, these feelings with you back into your everyday life. And let the corners of your mouth turn up in a soft smile at this sense of being out in nature, being with your tree, with the sights, the sounds, the smells, the senses, and what a tonic that is for the soul. Slowly letting go of this visualization. Take a couple of lovely deep inhales through the nose. Exhale, releasing perhaps the breath on a sigh through the mouth. And begin to wiggle fingers, maybe stretching your limbs. If you're lying down, bending the knees, rolling onto your side and pressing yourself slowly up to sitting. If you're sitting, perhaps rolling the shoulders, having a stretch or a yawn, and bringing your hands in front of the heart. Let's finish with a nice deep breath out as the arms come out to the side and up, touching the palms together, drawing them back down on the exhale. Keeping them in front of the heart, you can join with me in an Om if you choose to. Inhaling in. Taking a bow to yourself, to your peaceful, calm mind, and the power of nature that can bring that for us, all the gifts it gives. Namaste.